close in a little bit, maybe.
Everybody good? Sir?
Good afternoon. I am joined by our Deputy Mayor Anthony Barksdale, along with Lieutenant Colonels Herzog and Howe and Major Featherstone, who's the commander of the Central District, where we are standing. At or around 3:30 this afternoon, police were in this area. As a matter of fact, right here at this corner, in this vehicle, which is right behind us, officers were in this vehicle to relieve another officer who had just turned around and pulled away. While the officers were at this red light waiting for the light to turn, a group of individuals were gathered in the middle of the 200 block. What we know right now is that information describes this group. There was one individual who appears to begin arguing with another individual who was in that group. What we know is that one of the individuals pulled out a firearm, began shooting at this one individual who he struck, although 4 other individuals were also struck as a result. We believe only one person at this time was the intended target, but this is an active and fluid investigation, and the information coming in could very well change. What we like right now is for anyone who would have been out here, and we knew that there were many, many people out here on both sides of the street and at both intersections. Anyone with any information about what they saw, what they heard, or what they heard someone else say they saw and heard, to please call us right away or call Crime Stoppers at 1-866-7-LOCK-UP. We believe that this shooter was shooting at one individual but struck 4 others. Those 5 individuals all went to local hospitals. What we know right now is they're all adult males, ranging from age 38 to, I believe, mid-60s. They are all in non-life-threatening conditions. And we're concerned, but at this time, at last report, the injuries were all non-life-threatening. One person went by private conveyance, 4 stayed on the scene and were taken by local medics. This is still an active scene right behind us in the 200 block. And so once again, we urge anyone with any information, and we know that there is information because many people were out here. Anyone who saw something, heard something, or knows someone who did see or hear something, please let us know so that we can find this shooter, hold this shooter accountable, so that we can, number one, make sure that this is not just a safe place to live, but a safe place to shop, safe place to dine. And with that, we will take a few questions.
We're going to start over here with Mike and then work our way around, okay?
So
Mike?
I know we've seen other shooting incidents where police are nearby. I guess, what does that say to you that there's not a fear? And we also talked about disputes, and that's a thread that you have taken up. These are some of the themes that we're seeing right here today. So what are your comments on that?
Well, my comments are this is a very brazen act. And to answer your question specifically, they are not afraid of arrest and jail, and they are not afraid of dying. And when you have people like that, they will commit very, very violent and brazen acts. It speaks to the culture that we are all working to change, the culture of violence, which is a way of thinking. And we have to change that through consequences, but through changing people's life conditions. If we can change their life conditions where they don't have to commit crime, that's a way to do that. But there has to be consequences. And at this point, that shooter is not afraid of being shot and or going to prison.
Kyrie?
And can you speak to the emotional aspect of this? To kind of run up what you said, obviously it's getting warmer out here. More people are coming out. I know that tonight is when the youth curfew starts, so you'll have something in place to deal with them. But you talk about 38 to 60-year-olds. These are adults out here too, and it's getting warmer. Like I said, people are coming out. Can you just speak to that?
Well, we want officers to be out engaging, and we want officers to be very present so that we can create a deterrent. We'd like to do all we can to deter people, but we have to deter people through consequences, making them know that if they do this, they will get caught, and they will get caught. But we have to make sure we can, number one, make people safe and make people feel safe. But we also have to send a strong message that this type of violent behavior will not be tolerated. It will not be tolerated. With officers less than 50 or 60 feet away, and for somebody to enact a very violent, violent act, it says a lot about that person who is willing to do that. That's a culture we really, really have to change, and it takes all of us to change it.
All right, Baltimore time right here.
Yeah, what about the community policing how would you address that aspect?
Well, we address it by saying, look, we had officers here. We're always here. There was an officer that had been here all day. The officers in the car right behind me were here to relieve him, and while at the red light, they jumped right into action. So you're seeing officers perform. You're seeing officers respond. What we have to find out now is how do we get inside the minds of the would-be shooter to change their minds about why they are making this bad decision. But to the people who live here, the people who work here, you're seeing us out here, and we want to make sure you continue to see us out here, and we want to do everything we can to make you safe.
Commissioner, the youth curfew takes effect tonight. Is there going to be any reevaluation of enforcing that at all? Does this change anything in terms of how you approach that curfew?
Well, this is nowhere near 9 p.m., so this has nothing to do with curfew. I will say that the city is always evaluating every program that it initiates. So everything we do, we evaluate its efficacy to see if it works and if it doesn't work. But this is not, the curfew is not about necessarily a crime-fighting strategy. It's really about making sure kids are where they're supposed to be, getting the help and the resources that they need, which forces them, when they don't have it, it forces them out into the streets at long hours, especially late at night. This is about helping kids and keeping them safe.
Savannah, which is reporting.
Do we know how many shots was fired and how it hit 4 people? If they were just
Well, multiple shots were fired, and when you have an individual firing into a crowd to hit one person, what we saw is that he hit other people. Although it is believed that there was one intended target at this time, which could change if more information comes in that gives us that. Other individuals were shot while in proximity of the victim, who was probably likely the intended target. Multiple shots were fired. Don't know how many.
Last question, Kyrie.
Just a quick one. Any kind of description of the suspect?
We do not have a description. We know after the shooting, fled south on Eutaw Street and then unknown. All right? Thank you all.